Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
Wayne, good morning. I'm very good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, and the sun is dancing right now between the clouds,
Oh,
so it's
that,
peeking in and peeking out.
that's a nice word picture.
And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our lives, as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is to smell. And I want to start out with a trivia question,
Oh,
which I
okay.
will answer at the end of the show. A Yale University study, I don't know the year, was done. And what did they determine was the most recognized smell for adults in America, in the United States? So that's a
Cool.
trivia question. And part two is University of Oxford and a university in Stockholm did another study and identified a different smell found to be the most recognized internationally. So two smells, one in America, one internationally.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that because my first I have my first one for domestic, but I don't know international. So
Okay. All
okay.
right.
All right.
Well, let me give a few definitions and then let's hear yours. And then let's hear what we each thought about this word when we first started researching it.
Oh, sounds fun. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I've got two definitions: to perceive or detect the odor or scent.
Mhm.
And number two is to emit an odor of a specified kind.
Ah.
Hmm.
All right. And I have to have a particular quality that
Mm.
others can notice with their noses,
Hmm.
to notice or discover something using the nose,
Hmm.
to know about or be aware of a situation without having to be told about it.
Ah,
And my last one, to have the ability to notice or discover that a substance is present by using your nose.
okay.
Yes. And Sheila, where can
Yes.
our listeners find you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Zeke and Sheila at yahoo.com.
And I can be found at Wayne at mindsyncing.com. That's MindSyncing.com. So, yes. All right. Now, I can't wait. What were you thinking when we first talked about smell? Because I think you offered that verb
Uh,
to me.
it was my dog Zeke who offered that word, one of his favorite pastimes. And I think I have a new favorite verb.
Oh, no.
Yes, I loved researching this verb.
Okay. And why was it so intriguing for you?
There were so many paths that I went down with this that that made me happy, that I have too many things to talk about here. So I had to, right before we got on the call here, I just cross this out and cross that out and star this and highlight that. So now, but it sounds like you maybe had a different experience.
Well, yes, and I can't wait to hear all of yours.
Okay.
My experience was a little it was a little unbalanced,
Okay.
because I initially thought, huh, this could go anywhere,
Yeah.
much like you said.
Yep.
And then I remembered a long time ago I was a cook. And,
Ah.
and one of the first things I learned about cooking was, besides proper cooking temperatures and proper storage for food and those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things,
Mm-hmm.
was to engage people's sense of smell and
Mm-hmm.
sight.
Ah.
Because in our dining facility, the first thing that people would notice was the smell wafting from the
Mm.
door, you know.
Hmm.
So they
Yep.
couldn't see it, and so the smell had to entice them. And so if it smelled really good, then people would flock to the dining facility in anticipation
Mm.
upon entering. And if it also then looked fantastic when they
Mm-hmm.
came in, most patrons would have a very enjoyable meal. And I liken it to walking into an open house to to see a
Yes.
property that you might want to buy,
Yes.
because if someone has the real estate, I guess tip is, hey, have an apple pie or a chocolate cake baking in the
Mm.
oven.
Mhm.
Be, because if that tantalizes their smell and their taste buds, it's going to give them a better experience, and more one thing, making them feel comfortable and say,
Yeah.
oh, I really like this place and I don't really know why. Well, it's that apple pie. Scent in the background.
So one thing I'm hearing you say is that using smell is a psychological tool to trigger good feelings in people, both in the dining experience and in the open house experience.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm really interested and intrigued about your
Okay.
adventures, your research. Let's hear it, please.
Okay. First thing I thought of was smells of childhood. And I
Ah,
made a list of the things that I remember. And so this is a little fun list down memory lane. So uh, hopefully this will trigger a few thoughts in you, but I'll start with my list. Crayons,
okay.
the smell of an elementary school. I can't tell you what it smells like, but you walk in one, you go, yeah, that's that smell.
Hmm.
Freshly cut grass,
Uh-huh.
burning leaves,
Yes.
double bubble gum.
Oh, oh, with the little comic strips in it,
Yeah, with
right?
a little comic strip. Yep, yep. Play-Doh, and
Ah,
this is the big one. Uh, and by the way, odor-filled memories have a name. This is called the Proust effect. We're talking about the Proust effect here. Ditto copies from ditto machines.
yes.
Everyone in school would
I
hold that paper up to their
and
nose.
smelled it. Oh my gosh, it smelled so good. And I don't even know why it smelled good.
I
What was
don't.
it?
It was a combination of methanol and isopropanol, according to what I read, which somehow is a very fragrant sense smell. So,
Yes.
so my
Yes.
last one was suntan lotion. Yeah, there was only one kind, and it always smelled the same, and it made you think of pools and beaches. So,
Okay. Cocoa
so
butter.
yes, yeah, 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 yeah. That was it. So did this trigger anything in you in terms of childhood memories?
Oh, absolutely. Christmas trees.
Oh,
I love the smell of Christmas trees.
yeah, and you still do, don't you?
And I still do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
me too.
Yes. I could just go into a Christmas tree farm or store that's
Mm.
selling them and just stay there for, literally hours, just
If
smelling.
I recall, last year or the year before, you volunteered to sell Christmas trees for a charity.
Our church always has a Christmas tree sale. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I love going there and smelling this just the scents. And it's one particular scent because not all Christmas trees are equal.
That's true. Good to know.
and, but there's one, and I'm not sure if it's the blue spruce or the California
Oh,
pine. I'm not sure which tree
okay.
it is, but when I smell the smell, my mind goes, there it is, that's it, and I
You
lock
are
it that
you
way.
are experiencing the Proust effect.
Okay, how do I spell Prost?
Proust.
Proust. Prost
And
effect.
and I learned so many new words during this research project today. So get your sheet out and be ready to write.
Okay, I read an article, Sheila,
Okay.
and I'm gonna ask this question
All right.
later on.
All right.
But I read the article, and there was this whole paragraph on one question, and I read the paragraph, and it had so many big words and so many different words. I didn't know if the question was answered or not until I got to the last sentence when the author said, "So apparently the answer is yes."
Good to know.
Oh, yes. And I too went down a path. I have an article from Psychology Today
Okay.
that I read and liked. And then there was another article in something called um, what is it? It's the Medicine Net. Is that it? Let me see.
Good.
Let
Okay.
me make sure. It's Yeah, on Medicine Net. Yes.
Okay.
So I read two articles from there, and it got some great information. Not my typical podcast
Okay.
today, but I have a lot of information to share. So I will go back to you because you sound like you had much more fun.
Oh, I really had fun with this topic. So it was my dog who recommended this word to us. So I went
Uh-huh.
on dogster.com to find out about smell as your dog's superpower. And certainly we know they've got from 50 to 100,000 times more scent receptors than humans do.
Yes.
Bloodhounds have the most. But this is one of the factoids I learned that was so interesting to me. And I haven't confirmed it on other sites to see if it's valid. But dogs smell differently with their right and left nostrils.
Really?
So they start with their right nostril, and the right and left affect different parts of the brain,
Hmm.
or trigger different parts of the brain. So I'm going to just sit there and stare at my dog for a while and watch his nose twitch. But I have seen it. I have seen his nostrils kind of not acting in synchronicity. So maybe there's some truth to it.
Huh.
Also, dogs can smell stress in people through their breath and their sweat glands. Um, Dogs, of course, we know, can sniff out drugs, explosives, cancer, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, and lymphoma. And they can detect seizures and identify narcolepsy in people. And that's what makes them so good as service dogs.
Ah,
Um, Finally, they recognize your smell several years after they meet you, and they can smell up to 12 miles away.
12 miles?
12. And lately in the news, there have been so many great stories about how canine dogs with police departments have been finding people lost in the woods by smelling, using their sense of smell to track them down, or hikers who have gotten lost.
Yes.
So
Wow.
loving dogs and that superpower. And we're going to go to you now, but then I'm going to tell you about my superpower
Uh-oh.
after
Okay.
we hear what you have to say.
All right. Does it come with a costume?
Comes with two new words. No costumes necessary.
Okay. In Psychology Today, they said smell is our oldest sense. Okay. And that's
Okay.
SENSE sense.
Okay.
It says one of our earliest functions as simple organisms was to detect helpful or harmful molecules in our environment and then seek them out or avoid them. It says the brain's olfactory bulb still sits alongside regions processing emotion. So
Mhm.
they say as a result, although scientists aren't sure of the exact mechanism, dysfunctions of smell and closely associated with the mood disorders are
Mm,
prevalent. And
interesting.
something that you just said. And so, mood and again, my Christmas tree. If I smell that scent or if my mind just remembers the scent of Christmas tree, I'm at peace. It's just,
Mm,
my whole demeanor changes
mhm,
and it's just all good. Stress is gone, all the good stuff. However, working as a surgical technician, I learned
mm,
I learned many pungent smells, and some I hope that others don't have to endure.
mhm,
But I can smell those smells, and I go, oh, I know exactly what that is.
mhm,
And it's foul because our sense of smell tries to keep us healthy and out of
mhm,
trouble, right?
mhm. Yes.
Because if food smells bad, then oop, I'm not eating that because it smells terrible and it's probably spoiled or something to that effect. But in the article, it also says they ask a question: what is the sense of smell? And again, here we go.
Okay.
Olfaction, the human sense of smell, can bring someone pleasure, the
Mhm,
sweet fragrance of flowers, or generate disgust, the
mhm,
stink of rotting meat, which we just talked about. It can boost mood, stir up old memories, and even drive a person to romantic distraction.
mhm,
People also use their sense of smell to detect hazards such as smoke or gas, and without
mhm,
that ability, they can become anxious about
mhm.
their safety. In
Interesting.
air, yeah, in aerotherapy, in aromatherapy,
Mhm.
aromatic therapy. I'm going to
Okay.
get this word right. Aromatic therapy. Different kinds of scents are breathed in or applied to the skin to reduce stress. Again, I just said that.
Mhm.
And it promotes sleep and relaxation and eases pain. And I'm thinking, wow, our my nose really has a big job, doesn't it?
Yes. I read that an MRI machine found gosh, I don't even remember right now the percentage of oh, here it is. 63% reduction in stress when the scent of vanilla was pumped into the room when people were getting an MRI. So you talked about how
Vanilla.
it helps in pain reduction, and certainly in that
Yes.
case, pain and anxiety would be connected with each other.
Ah, okay. Huh. Very cool.
Very
Eh,
cool.
Now, one thing I did learn through
Okay.
the research, that our nose, that our sense of smell is much more important for us than I imagined.
Oh, okay.
And I know it's important because you can smell certain smells and you avoid them, like,
Yeah.
oh, a gas leak or something. Oh, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
working through that because that's going to be very bad on my nose. But it's just, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how our nose really does great things for us, and we don't even know it. And
So
then
you've
as go ahead.
come to appreciate this verb to
I
smell.
I did.
Okay.
I did. Okay. What do you have for us next?
We talked about my superpower, which I recognized after COVID, and I wondered if it was a long COVID response, and it was not. So here's some of the new words I learned. Uh, they found in research that 75% of people who got COVID experienced parasomia, which is smell distortion.
Yes.
Or excuse me, actually, that was post COVID. Asnomia was the loss of the sense of smell during their COVID experience.
Mm,
So the parasomia was a prolonged effect after COVID. And I found that I experienced hypersomia, which is hypersensitivity. But as it turns out, I was wrong about it being from COVID because, and here's the final of the omia words, osmophobia is what I had, which is an aversion to smell or odors. And it turns out 95% of migraine patients get these smell triggers that worsen their attacks. And I am a migraine patient.
really?
So, yes. So, some cleaning products, some perfumes, cigarette smoke, motor vehicle exhaust. There's a certain candle store that used to be in many shopping center malls, and I could hardly go by the door because the smell was so overpowering that it would give me a headache. So it wasn't from COVID at all, but I'd be walking down the street and a person might walk by and I'd go, "Whoa, they need to wash their hair." And so it was a hypersensitivity to bad smells that I thought was COVID. Turns out it was migraine triggers. And sadly, we talked about childhood smells.
Yes.
Freshly mown grass is one of the ones that I have to close the windows for. I have to just plug my nose if I go by
Oh,
because it's one of those triggers for me. And
okay.
and I think immediately my brain goes to hay fever.
Oh my
So
goodness.
anyway, but not to be a downer. Fortunately, my osmophobia has relaxed a little. I'm not as triggered by smells. It was kind of fun while it lasted. And I thought, so is a superpower, because I considered it my sense of smell to be my superpower at that time. It isn't always a happy superpower. But that's a subject for another day.
Okay.
What else have you got here?
And what? I agree with you because
Okay.
when I go into the malls,
Yeah.
particularly around holidays, where the candle shops, the candle
Yes.
stores, and the
Yep.
scent
Yep.
stores, the
Yep.
perfumes, they just,
Yep.
and I use this word, as I go in there, there's this cacophony of smells
Oh, yes.
because
Another good word picture. Yeah.
it's just so overpowering for me, and I can't, it's just like, okay, I have to leave.
Yep.
I just can't stay here because
No.
it's not making me ill, but it's certainly making me not very happy because
Right.
I'm smelling all these smells and none of them I like.
Right.
Trying to
Right.
find the one I like is just very difficult. So yeah, I anyway, and
It's just a funny thing.
talking about that, there was a question
Yes.
in the Psychology Today article says,
Okay.
how many basic odors can humans smell?
I saw a couple different lists. What
And I
did you?
was
Yeah.
surprised by that
Okay.
because I have a list of 10 common smells,
Uh
but
huh.
they started off the answer with the notion that humans have a poor sense of smell is a widespread myth.
Hmm.
For a long time, scientists believed that the brain could only differentiate approximately 10,000 odors.
That's it.
However, new research suggests that people can discriminate as many as a trillion odors,
Wow.
much closer to the half a million tones and millions of colors that humans are said to be able to
Oh,
detect.
so move over those four-footed dogs. We got good smelling skills too. They're not the only ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a trillion of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. And okay, the 10 basic ones. I bet you came up with this list too. I hope I didn't usurp you here.
Oh, no, 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 not at all.
but they have the 10 basic smells that a human nose can sense. And
Okay.
this is from Doctors Kumar and Utkar,
Okay.
but they say the first one, or one, fruit, which humans, our nose can smell all types of freshly and
That's
good
true.
good fruits.
Love a good fruit smell.
Second one is lemon.
Oh,
Third one is fragrant, which means floral, so those kinds of
ah,
things,
okay.
colognes. Then there's minty and peppermint,
Mm-hmm.
and they say this usually is considered as fresh and cool. Then there's sweet. I love sweet because they're talking about
Mm.
chocolates and vanilla
Ooh,
and caramel, which you've already said about the vanilla in the MRI machine room.
right.
Then there's toasted and nutty, and I was kind of surprised by this one because it says they are usually distant smell or distinct smells. Examples include peanut butter, popcorn, and almonds.
Oh,
A
okay.
kid's smell. Do you remember going into Sears and smelling popcorn? Because the Sears store my mom
Oh.
and dad took us to, they always had popcorn and it was free bags. And they just, here, have some
Oh,
popcorn.
and now Sears isn't even in our area anymore.
I know it's gone, and I
Doggone
always
it.
wanted to go to Sears when they went because I could get free popcorn.
Yay.
Yay! All right, and then there's the woody smells and
Okay.
chemicals and
Mm-hmm.
pungent and sickening or decaying. So those are the 10. Those are the 10 common odors that we all tend to know and
You
enjoy.
know, I had a social worker friend who part of her job was going into homes where people were
Uh huh.
hoarders. She would put Vicks Vapor Rub
Uh,
gel in her nostrils
uh,
and cat flea collars around her ankles. But the Vicks Vapor Rub was to plug her nose from the many putrid odors, the
okay.
pungent
Yes.
odors, pungent that would rise up and surround her when she walked into some of those homes.
Uh, Talking about Vicks, you just reminded me when my brother and I would be sick
Uh huh.
growing up, my dad would take a jar of Vicks and just swab it all over our chests. And he would also heat up a teaspoon of it on the
Uh
stove,
oh. Oh no.
and we had to ingest it. And I used to look at the thing and said, not for internal use, Dad, not for internal use. uh,
Fond childhood memories.
Oh my goodness. I could see the sab of Vicks all over my chest now. I can
Yep.
smell it. Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
Oh, one of my poor sisters had chapped lips, so my mom put Vicks Vapor Rub all over her mouth and chin, and that was the day for school pictures.
Oh no.
Yes, poor thing.
Oh, so when she
Oh,
smells Vicks, it's okay. That's not a good
yep.
thing for her.
No,
No.
no, it was not.
Okay.
Okay,
Ah,
here's a quick little smell factoid
okay.
from healthdigest.com. You know, I started going down the path of researching perfumes, and I got a lot about the history of perfumes, but I want to focus on this. The highlight here was women like men who smell like vanilla, musk, and rose hips, and men like women who smell like vanilla. So there's vanilla coming up everywhere here
Everywhere.
in the
Yes.
MRI room, as a perfume. As
Yeah.
I would say, vanilla probably would be good in open houses.
Oh,
Yep,
yes.
yep.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that was just an interesting factoid. So what else have you got here?
Nice factoid. Okay. So I have okay, in that same article from Psychology Today,
Yes,
they
yes.
said, can people smell when they're sleeping?
Oh,
And I thought, you know what? I never even, again, I learned a lot.
yeah.
I never even considered that. And I'm going, well, hmm. And I said, I don't know the answer to that. So I read, and it says a person's sense of smell tends to fluctuate during the day according to
Mm,
the circadian rhythms.
mm,
While they may be sensitive to odors when awake or in the early stages of sleep, they
mhm.
cannot depend on their sense of smell to alert them to dangers, i.e., fire,
Right.
toxic fumes. while in the latter stages of sleep, which is why we have smoke alarms and
Ah,
carbon
dogs
dioxide detectors
and dogs.
and dogs. And
Right,
dogs, yes,
right.
yes, because we don't smell supposedly when we're sleeping. And I'm thinking,
Interesting.
wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
just you just tell your sleep, okay, go your smell sense, go to sleep because you're not working. You need to rest up for those trillion odors that you can scent.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And Sheila, I'm looking at the clock. It's
Okay,
25:05. Let's be on time today. What do you think?
let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Your answer to your trivia question: the domestic and the international common scent.
Well, in domestic, it was coffee, and international,
Ah,
guess what? International, vanilla.
but now
Pops up in every site I
every
researched.
it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Right, 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 right.
Yes. Oh, do you have any quotes for us
I
today? I didn't
do,
get
I
any
do.
quotes.
Just going to give one here. A lot of them have to do with the smells that are associated with childhood, etc. But Chuck Jones, an American director, said the author O. Henry taught me about the value of the unexpected. He once wrote about the noise of flowers and the smell of birds. The birds were chickens, and the flowers were dried sunflowers rattling against a wall.
Hmm.
And I thought, no sense is an entity unto itself. So I loved the fact that it brought in hearing. And of course, I then pictured those dried sunflowers rattling against the wall. So I heard them and visualized them. So anyway,
Yes.
that's my quote for today. Lots of other good ones, but you know what? We only have 27 minutes. So, Wayne, thank you. And thanks, folks, for listening to us about this fun verb. And go into your kitchen and pull out your vanilla and take a big long sniff.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sheila.
Thank you, Wayne.
See you next week. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.